Hi everybody, Beth here from Access Paranormal. For this week's I Want to Know, I want to say a big thank you to everybody for being patient. I haven't been able to do a live video for a couple of weeks. I had to put down my little cat of 19 and a half years a couple of weeks ago, so it's been a bit difficult for me at the moment. So also a big and heartfelt thank you to everybody who sent their condolences in and their sympathies as well. I've been absolutely blown away by the support and sympathies from people who've been in that situation as well. So thank you so much to everybody who has very, very, very humbled, and really appreciate it as well. Too, I know that it's interesting when we talk about the possibility of a life after death, that sometimes that can be questioned somewhat when something like this happens. So thank you so much to everybody, and I really appreciate everyone checking in as well. I really, really do. But yes, I am back. Hi Kaz. So yeah, this is a really interesting subject. So because of my recent situation, I'm dedicating this particular I Want to Know to my gorgeous little cat, Tammy. And for those who are watching on Facebook live, and also later on with the replay or the recorded one, I might actually put the little snippet where she actually interrupted one time when I was doing a live feed, because cats just don't care, or animals just don't care. If you're doing something live and you're trying to talk to people about paranormal content, they just have no qualms whatsoever. So I might actually post the actual little video of that as well, when I was talking about, funny enough, spirit animals. So I think I might do that a bit later on. But anyway, enough about that. Thank you all. So let's get into the subject. Really interesting, and it's probably one of the hardest ones I've had to try and answer, to be honest. Very black and white. Can spirits learn new things once they pass over? And it's a great question. Really, really good question. I mean, we're talking about the possibility of, once we pass over, is there an afterlife? What happens afterwards? Oh, thank you, Karen. Good to see you too. Beautiful. So yeah, does it happen? I mean, again, use the comments section. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, use the comment section there as well, because I'd love to know your feedback on this. This is, of course, is just some ideas and thoughts for myself, and trying to sort of give it a bit of an answer. But literally, it's like, it's not black and white. It's just many, many shades of grey. Hi, Rob. How are you, mate? So again, use the comment section about what your thoughts are. Do you think that an energy, once they pass over, or a spirit that passes over, can actually learn something new once they're on the other side? Now, of course, there's little parts of this we'll talk about. So first thing is obviously this is more geared towards intelligent and interactive hauntings, not necessarily obviously residual ones. So that's one thing to obviously keep in mind looking at this particular topic. But for example, and this was the example that was sort of somewhat given, say for instance an entity had passed over in the 1800s, and a person, and obviously the entity is around from the 1800s. Time is not linear, we assume, for them on the other side. So what could be a minute could be 100 years for us. So maybe in that very short time or time period that we can comprehend, they've seen so much change. So maybe once they come across or they visit, and we'll talk a bit about that too as well, do they see things that we're using and doing and saying that actually, challenge what they think? Like, what's that? Like, say, for instance, right now, do I have my beautiful grandmother who's passed away 20 odd years ago behind me going, what are you using? I've never seen one of these before. So I don't know. Could that be something that happens with people? Could that be something that, maybe she would be curious to know how this machine works and what's going on? She was always a very curious woman. So that could be one possibility. I know that sometimes with paranormal equipment, investigation equipment we use, people are very, very simplified in what they say, which is really good, because often we could be trying to make communication with something that may have passed over that didn't know what a smartphone was or anything like that. So we have to say, would you, come towards the light, with the green light, if we're using detectors or anything like that, or walk towards the device with the antenna. Maybe they would have known what an antenna was, because at the time when they passed or when they lived, they would know. So we tailor our language to try and communicate the technology that we've got already. So obviously, obvious means obvious. My iPad is disagrees. Okay. Yes, I'll see. Of course, they've got the obvious app on devices as well. But again, try anything, give it a shot as well. But yeah, so that's something to think and keep in mind too. We do tailor our language when we do look at using equipment to try and make communication too. But again, are we having any success with that? Do you think they may actually know what that device is because they've been around long enough, particularly in haunted locations? Maybe they know what an ovilus is. Maybe they know what a REM pod is because so many people have referred to it as that. So, you know, we don't know. We're finding out. We're doing the best we can. Also, could it be down to the intent of the energy as well? So if someone has passed over in the 1800s, were they already a curious person? Were they already somebody who wanted to learn? Did they have good intention in wanting to learn? That's another thing too. So it may not just be about computers, excuse me, but it could be about learning how to cook. It could be about a particular book. It could be about something else. It could be about human behavior. And then, of course, what about people that have passed over that were negative? You know, do they still want to learn? And what is it that they want to learn? So do they want to learn how to manipulate a person or how to make them angry, or learn about different types of ways in which they would have been very angry at other people, you know, sort of manipulating ways and stuff like that? Obviously, I don't, you know, commend any of that, of course, at all. But, you know, so just because they were, you know, negative or positive, you know, do they still want to learn new things once they've crossed over? Then, of course, there are lots of entities, or lots of, mediums and psychics I've spoken to over the years that have actually said, you know, it takes a lot for an entity to come through to this realm. It's very dense here. So with that being the case, you know, they're here for a short time to be able to learn maybe what, or possibly be open to what we're around and what we're doing and what we're using, maybe. But then, of course, there are other mediums and psychics I've spoken to where they've said that energy is always around, that they're always around us. And so if that's the case, they may have more time and capacity to actually learn more if that's what they wish. So that could be also something to keep in mind too. Another thing too, they don't have our usual bodily function type stuff, so they don't need to eat. They don't need to use the bathroom. So maybe with that being the case, maybe they don't need to learn new skills as well. Maybe that's part of that as well. It's part of that whole human side of it. Maybe they've been there, they've bought the t-shirt, they've come for what they've come for. They're happy. Maybe it's that, you know, the fact that they don't need to hang around to learn anything. They're quite happy. You know, maybe it just doesn't matter when you cross over. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But I did come across there was an artist in about 2012. His name was Fernando, or was it Elena? I think it is. Don't correct me. Oh, actually, no, correct me because it's going to be wrong. And he actually did an installation art where he got items from deceased properties, and he put them in like a board, and he kind of nailed it on a board. So all these items were actually previously owned by people who'd passed over, and he had different ones on one board. And his art meaning was to try and entice communication, but also with items that are from other entities that they may not even know about. So it's not just enticing them to use the objects that they would have used, but also other entities to try and figure out how to use other new objects. So I thought that was a very out there type of art installation. I wish it was around still. Apparently he had detecting equipment around it as well. So any type of temperature fluctuations or EMF detection spikes or anything like that. Apparently nothing had happened from what I could find out. But I thought it was a really good possible experiment idea for investigators. I think it'd be interesting to try and do that in a haunted location and see what would happen as well. So I thought, oh, I might steal that one. So give that one a shot as well. But yeah, hi Charmaine, beautiful. So let me know your thoughts. You know, do you think could a spirit want to learn new stuff? Like, you know, you've got all the time in the world. You know, when you're over on the other side, you know, would you want to learn, you know, grandma's latest recipe, you know, that you missed out on because you tragically passed away before her? Or, you know, does that still happen? Does that intent still follow through onto the other side as well? So really be interested about your thoughts, because this one almost completely stumped me. So thank you to the person who sent it through, because I like that. I like get the grey matter working as well. But thank you, everybody. But let me know your comments, and I will see you next week. Take care.